all the way to Haile Selassie Avenue. Taking a look at yet another major road, we look at Ngong Road. Ngong Road looks so much good despite some different snarl-ups at different intervals, especially at the junction linking Ngong Road with Mbagathi Way. Doesn't look so much good from there, descending down all through to Upper Hill. So if you can be able to use an alternative route, then it will be of a great importance this chilly morning. Just looking at the central business district itself, it doesn't look so much good because there is a lot of movements, of course, movements that are facilitated by the rising political activities as campaigns seek to end on tomorrow on Saturday. So there is so much movement in the central business district. Would say that there is so much people moving, perhaps people traveling into their voting areas. Just taking another look at yet another road, I'll take a look at the Thika Superhighway. Of course, that is the major road linking all through to the central business district from different counties, that is Kiambu County, Nairobi County, as well as counties in the central region. So when you get to Muthaiga, doesn't look so much good, of course, a usual culprit of traffic at that point. So Muthaiga doesn't look so much good on Thika Road all the way to Pangani, entering to Juja Road, to the central business district. That is matters to do with the Thika Superhighway. Doesn't look so much good starting from Muthaiga. I want to take a look at yet another major road, that is the Parklands Road. Parklands Road doesn't look so much good as you descend down to the central business district. Major roads looking so much good despite different snarl-ups this morning. So if you can be able to avoid the routes that I've indicated they're having traffic, then it will be of your great importance. And that is what is happening on the roads this morning. All right, and now after the newspaper review, we take a look at the news bites this morning, of course, updating you on what is in terms of news. And we'll just begin with the Uhuru's visit in Mombasa. He just visited Mombasa yesterday, and President Uhuru Kenyatta seems to be intensifying his campaigns for the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya presidential candidate Raila Odinga. Speaking in Mombasa yesterday, President Uhuru urged Kenyans to vote for Odinga, saying that he is the best bet for curbing corruption and continuing his development agenda. In the president's final lap of honor, the head of state castigated his deputy as being dishonest and abusive. Take a look.
Matusi haijengi taifa. Ni vitendo kama hivi vinajenga taifa. Ni vitendo kama hivi vinaleta kazi kwa vijana wetu. Matusi na kujipiga kifua haileti chochote. Ama namna gani? Na ndio tunasema wacha kwanza mzee atuange hii kazi miaka hii inakuja. Hao wengine most labda huko mbele watapata nafasi, lakini sasa safari hii ni ya nani? Safari hii ni ya nani? Safari hii ni ya nani? Hebu tuone tena kwa mikono.
Right, and at the same time, Deputy President William Ruto has continued with his onslaught against President Uhuru Kenyatta on plans to interfere with the next week's presidential elections while leading the Kenya Kwanza campaigns in Mombasa. Ruto and his allies accused the government of misusing administrative officers to push for the election of Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate Raila Odinga. Ruto has in addition refuted opinion polls that have placed him behind his rival in the presidential race. Take a listen.
Jamaa tayari wanajua tutawashinda on Tuesday, na ndio sababu wako na tunjama nyingi, wanatengeneza opinion poll 10 kwa wiki mbili. Yaani hata ile uongo wanaeneza wenyewe hawaiamini, wanaenda kutafuta uongo ingine, lakini hatujali na mambo ya opinion poll. Ile inatujalisha ni kwamba hawa watu wako na njama ya kuvuruga uchaguzi, na tumemwambia rais wa taifa letu la Kenya, Wewe unaweza kuwa chairman wa Azimio, lakini ukumbuke wewe ni rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Hatutaki wafanyikazi wa serikali, machief na wale wengine wote walazimishwe, washurutishwe ati wafanye kuwa campaigners wa Azimio. Sisi tunataka kumwambia rais, public officials must remain public officials. They should go and vote like all Kenyans, but they should not be used as puppets or as workers or as errand boys of the Azimio failed project.
Opinion polls za uongo, wanaanza kutumia machief, wanaanza kutumia watu wa serikali, wanafanya karata zao za uongo, kuweka leaflets. Ni kwa sababu wanajua ya kwamba Kenya imebadilika. Wa Kenya wanataka mapinduzi, wanataka William Samuel Ruto.
Tafadhali, the Minister for Energy and the people responsible, musizime mataa, musipotoshe electricity wakati watu wanapiga kura. Tumeambia wale wa airwaves, Mucheru na timu yake, tafadhali musidhubutu kuziba airwaves, wacha watu wasiliane, mambo yaende sawa sawa.
Wewe mzee wa kitendawili, umeleta serikali ya handshake. Serikali ya handshake ndio imehamisha port ya Mombasa, ikahamisha port operation, ikaenda Nairobi. Wale watu wachache wenye ubinafsi wakahamisha port operation kutoka hapa wakapeleka Nairobi. Wewe unadanganya watu wa Mombasa eti utarudisha port. Wewe mwenye kupeleka port utarudisha vipi? Na wale sponsors wako ndio wamehamisha hiyo port operation kwenda Mombasa.
We are looking forward to a peaceful transition. You give us peace, we will let you rest in peace. If you give us any other thing, you will live to regret. This is nchi ya mtu mmoja. Hii ni nchi inabeba halaiki ya Wakenya. 50 million of us. This is our country.
All right, and that is the Kenya Kwanza campaigns. Of course, all guns out as the DP continues with his onslaught on President Uhuru Kenyatta because of taking sides in supporting the Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate. Is the president right to support the Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate? According to Kenya Kwanza, that is not right in what they have referred as interference with the Tuesday expected election. Of course, we'll also be talking about that and evaluating everything that we expect in the next 48 hours. And moving on is that Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition presidential candidate Raila Odinga has hit back at his rival DP William Ruto by rubbishing claims that the provincial administration is trying to tilt the August 9th election to his favor. Speaking in Kisumu, Odinga maintained that he is strong enough to deliver himself victory, terming Ruto's claims as rhetorics of a person sensing early defeat.
Don't run away. Don't come with shadow boxing and shadow shows. Uhuru want to rig the elections using provincial administration, or there's intention to intimidate members of the IEBC and so on. Hakuna kitu kama hiyo. Ati Matiang'i, Sijina Mucheru are talking to the administration of officers and so on. We do not need the chiefs, assistant chiefs or administration to win these elections. We will win this election through the vote of the people of Kenya. There's no doubt in my mind that on the 9th of August, that is Tuesday next week, the people of Kenya are going to vote correctly. And that they're going to vote blue, they're going to vote Azimio.
And at the same time, Raila Odinga and his Azimio team have called upon his strongholds to turn out in large numbers so as to ensure victory. Odinga urged his Nyanza base to show their might in the ballot, calling out for 100% voter turnout.
I've come here today to tell you, my people, that I want 100% turnout this time. Those who are sick, who are in wards in the hospital, go and get them, take them to the polling station to vote, and take them back to the wards. Those who are disabled should be enabled to go and cast their votes.
Nataka kuwaambia Wakenya wote ya kwamba tujiokoe, sababu serikali ya Azimio inaleta ukombozi wa nchi. Unganeni nasi tuweze kupata kura na kuingia mara ya kwanza. Tunataka kupata, Mungu atujalie, over 60%. Wale wasije wakafikiria ya kwamba tunapata sababu sisi ni marafiki wa Uhuru. Tunapata kwa sababu wa Kenya wanatuelewa.
Hamwezi mkamfanya baba apige firimbi bure ya kurauka. It has to be 100%, kwa sababu katiba ya Kenya inasema usipopata 50% na kura moja, 50% na kura moja, hawezi kuwa rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Lakini kama vile dada Martha Karua amesema, tunatarajia hata beyond 70%.
All right, and that is the final sprint of the presidential race. Of course, different political coalition making their final blueprint as they seek to persuade the Kenyan people to elect them in the Tuesday polls. Of course, so much rising in terms of what we expect in the next 48 hours, and tomorrow marking the last day of the campaigns. As per the law, the different political factions expected to conclude their campaigns tomorrow. Of course, today Deputy President William Ruto will be campaigning in Kamukunji here in Nairobi and finalizing with a mega rally tomorrow in Nairobi County, as well as Azimio la Umoja's presidential candidate Raila Odinga will be campaigning in Mombasa and the coastal region today. Will also be campaigning in Nairobi tomorrow. And now we cross over live. We'll be crossing over live to the Bomas of Kenya, where my colleague Aida Monzat and Faith Kaulu are already at the scene and evaluating the IEBC preparedness. So we'll be crossing over live right now, so we get to hear what is the IEBC and how is the IEBC prepared in that particular region.
From the Bomas of Kenya, the National Call Center.
All right, and some little technical hitch there. We'll be crossing over live shortly with Faith Kaulu, who is already on standby in the Bomas of Kenya. Of course, so much preparations they're undergoing by IEBC as the week comes to an end, because on Tuesday Kenyans are expected to turn out in large numbers to cast their votes in the general election, and the presidential race attracting the preparedness of IEBC. Of course, different issues arising yesterday in what we expect on Tuesday. It matters to do with security of the different polling stations. And just to take a review of what is happening in the newspapers before we get into our discussion, and also cross over live to Bomas and hear how prepared is the IEBC. I'll be taking a look at the Daily Nation on what the Daily Nation is talking about. At the top page of the Daily Nation is about register behind the fight, manual or digital? That is the big question. And Raila wins big as court orders IEBC to use printed list of voters alongside the electronic kits on election day. Inside the arguments for and against the two systems, and what is the decision means for Chebukati, poll rivals and voters. We just want to cross over live now to Bomas as we seek to find out what is happening and how IEBC is prepared in that particular place where the National Tallying Center is placed. And we'll also be continuing to find out what IEBC has to say this particular day. And just continuing with what the Daily Nation is talking about is the bottom page of the Daily Nation, talking about Ruto claims anti-vote plan. That is what Ruto alleges a sinister plot in a press briefing that he conducted yesterday. That story is written by the Daily Nation in detail on page 12. On page 2 of the Daily Nation is a story there of Roots Party presidential candidate George Wajakoya in his claims of supporting the Azimio la Umoja, and just that is what is written by the Daily Nation. 18,000 observers to monitor Tuesday's vote. That is per the IEBC in regard to the preparedness of the August polls, and IEBC assures Kenyans on security of election tech, and that is what the Daily Nation is talking about. And we just talk about the Standard newspaper on what is talking about on the top page is elaborating the inside last 48 hours of the general election. And I want to cross over live to the Bomas of Kenya, where Faith Kaulu and Ida Monzati have been camping since morning, evaluating and seeking to find out how IBC is prepared in the course of this day. But now we cross over live and get an update of what is happening from them.
Boys in his care. This is a 29-year-old director of a children's home in Nairobi, Utawala area, who was sentenced to 100 years for defiling the boys under his care. Good story right there in the science segment is a story about scientists revive cells in pigs. If you're interested in such matters, get yourself the Daily Nation. Let's move on to the Standard newspaper, written in very bold letters as well as inside the last 48 hours. As I mentioned earlier, Krisambu, tomorrow is expected to be the last day of public political rallies, and there's a story right there about the final sprint, or rather the last home stretch, and we see them comparing the two presidential candidates and their campaigns. Yesterday, the Deputy President William Ruto raised concerns on polls as well as he... Guy.
All right, and some technical hitch from the Bomas of Kenya will be coming back live there in a few minutes. So we take a short break and then we'll be right back in a few.
I'm Celestine Kemunto. I'm taking a bachelor's in business information technology. I chose ZTech because, first of all, ZTech has been ranked among the best in ICT, and I thought it will be best. It will be best for my course. First of all, there are so many ICT labs in ZTech University, which enables students, mostly those who are pursuing IT courses, to get to know more about their courses, of which the labs have so many computers which have Ethernet, which is easier for them to browse. If I were given a chance to choose another university, I'll definitely choose ZTech University.
Apply today. ZTech University. Invent your future.
Are you ready for Israel? PCEA head office is pleased to inform all presbyteries, parishes, churches, congregations and friends of our PCEA annual trip to Israel. The 10-day trip to the Holy Land will happen this September from the 18th to 27th, 2022. The trip to Israel through Egypt will include visit sites like the pyramids, Mara, the Hanging Church, the Burning Bush, Mount Sinai, and then to Israel through the Suez Canal. That will include visits to the Dead Sea, Kibbutz, the Menja, the Temptation Mount, Gethsemane, Old Jerusalem, Caesarea Park, St. Peter's in Galligantu, Emmaus, Capernaum, Jordan River, Galilee, among others. We would love to have you join us on this annual trip to Israel. For bookings, contact Rose on 0721 511 524 or 721 511 524.
Agosti 9, siku ya siku. Wakenya wazalendo wa matabaka yote wanapania kufanya uamuzi debeni. Uamuzi ambao utaathiri mustakabali wa taifa hili kwa miaka 5 ijayo. Mandani wako runinga ya Kirk, tupo tayari kutembea nawe kila hatua ya uchaguzi mkuu wa Agosti 9. Tutakuletea ripoti za moja kwa moja kutoka kwenye vituo vya kupigia kura, matangazo na uchambuzi wa kipekee studioni hadi nususi za matokeo kila yatakapotukia. Kila siku saa 24 tutakufahamisha kiuhakika na kiufasaha hadi pale mshindi atakapotangazwa. Kirk TV, uchaguzi 2022.
And let's latch on to something, I don't care how tiny it is, that is a good thing in our life, something that God is doing in us. I want you to decide tonight 2 things: that you are going to help more people than you've ever helped before, and that you are going to let God work with you every day of your life to be more and more excellent and better at everything that you do. And the more you celebrate the good things, the smaller the bad things are going to become. Come on now.
Enjoy Everyday Life with Joyce Meyer every day at 9 p.m. for encouraging and impacting moments on Kirk TV.
What a wonderful year our dear God has granted to us. 2022 Boys and Girls Brigade Week. Our theme this year comes from the book of Hebrews chapter 13 verse 6. And the Bible says, "The Lord is my helper, I'll not be afraid. What can a mere mortal do to me?" Therefore, from the same theme, we get a consolidated theme of we invite all of you to join us in our programs that are lined up for you in the whole week. We have wonderful morning devotions brought to you from different parts of the Republic of Kenya by young children preaching the Word of God.
My dear parents, my dear brothers and sisters, I want to encourage you with one thing. Tell God, I have to go with you.
We also have wonderful programs brought to you by the hosts of different programs in the Kirk TV majoring on children affairs. Therefore, we invite all of you, children and adults, to join us and have a fantastic week. The climax of the whole week will be on Sunday, when we have wonderful services brought to you through the TV and our YouTube channel and Facebook from different parishes within the Presbyterian Church of East Africa. Note the one that will be coming to you from the neighboring country, St. John's, Kinondoni in Tanzania. We believe that you are going to have a fantastic week of the week as we look forward for next week when we have the general elections, considering trusting in God.
Waters touching your latest breath on the rising tide, you can never fail when your anchor holds deep in the...
Tuendelee na kuombea nchi yetu, na tuombee hata wakati wa uchaguzi na baada ya uchaguzi tuwe na amani, na wale ambao wanawania fiti pia tuwaombee kama vile tunasema, ili pia na wao katika matamshi yao wasije wakaleta uchochezi, wasije wakaleta fujo na furugu, tuwe na nchi ambao iko na amani na kila mtu ako na kula yake, achague kulingana na vile conscience yake inamuelekeza na inamuongoza, na vile utakuwa umeomba na Mungu akuongoze na kupeleke. Kanisa hatusemi uchague upande huu au upande ule, tunasema ya kwamba you pray, the church is praying, vote. The most important thing is that you vote, na uvote kulingana na conscience yako vile itakupeleka.
All right, welcome back again to Kirk in the Morning. In case you're joining us right now, remember we are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube at Kirk TV Kenya, and you can also send in your feedback through our SMS number, as well as leave your message on our social media handles as we seek to have this conversation 48 hours before the general election. What do we expect in the next few days despite the political coalitions moving in swiftly to make sure that they get the massive support that they want from the Kenyan people. The IEBC, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, is at the center of all because of its preparedness in conducting the Tuesday elections. What and how are they prepared? We'll be seeking to find out later on as we engage with our colleagues right at the Bomas of Kenya. But I want to welcome you this morning to our conversation as we talk about the final home stretch for the campaigns. That is matters to do with what we expect in the next few days. And in studio, I'm joined by my guest. On my near right is Stephen Ogola. He's a political analyst and researcher. Welcome to the studio, Bwana Ogola.
Thank you very much.
And on the far right is not so much a new face, is Kipro Teach. He's a political analyst as well as a youth advocate. Welcome to the program this morning.
Thank you, Chris.
And there's so much that we expect to happen in the next 48 hours. Of course, we know the campaigns are coming to an end tomorrow, of course, signifying that we are ready for the polls. But I just want to begin with you, Kipro Teach. You've seen what has transpired in the last few days. Of course, the issues raised by the DP yesterday in regards to that. Of course, telling the IEBC, you need to assure us that this is a fair election. The Azimio la Umoja, of course, also coming out at this point. Are we prepared as a country for the Tuesday polls?
Okay, thank you very much, Chris, for having me once again this morning. I think I want to begin from where I sit myself, and it will be fair to say that IEBC has tried all it could do to prepare for next week's election. So from what I see myself, IEBC is ready to roll out elections next week, except only it needs to clear some of the issues, small issues that stakeholders have been raising, like when you saw yesterday, Azimio wrote to IEBC requesting for login details. I'm not sure about the legality of that request, but IEBC, by and large, IEBC has done elaborate preparation for 20 elections. I think as Kenyans, we should be able to build trust in our institution and believe that IEBC will be able to deliver a credible election next week. So, but there's only one issue, Chris, especially, which are very critical to elections in terms of external interference with the election. Like now, what Deputy President raised yesterday about the use of government machinery, that is provincial administrative, not government administrative officers like chiefs, that amounts to meddling of elections. Because it will mean, like you've had cases, myself I'm quite aware that IEBC, some chiefs are buying IEDs from voters. And we have also seen in the media, it is, I think if your team can be able to check, there is a chief in Kirinyaga who stood on top of a vehicle wearing official uniforms and campaigning for a particular candidate. So those are the issues which we are saying it will now cast doubt in this election in terms of fairness and what have you. So we are urging the government, as a citizen who wants peace in this country, as a citizen in this country who is also entitled to free and fair process in terms of electoral, let the people decide. And that is a rallying call, and that is a major saying which was coined by a legend, the late Ken Matiba in 1992. Let the people decide. So my appeal to President Uhuru Kenyatta as a head of state, I don't want to address the president now at this particular point as the chairman of Azimio because he's in campaign trail, but as a head of state, as a president of this country, you need to guarantee peace. As a symbol of national unity, as per the constitution, you need to be a unifier and not an agent of division. So, Chris, I'm telling you, IEBC is ready, but I hope it will be able to respond to those issues raised by the Deputy President yesterday.
Ogola, just coming to you briefly, you've heard what he has talked about. The IEBC should be able to respond to the issues raised briefly as before Tuesday, when we get to when Kenyans get to the polls. Just briefly before we cross over live to Bomas of Kenya and get what is on standby there. Is the IEBC prepared for these particular polls?
Chris, I can boldly say that IEBC is well prepared to give Kenyans a verifiable, free and fair elections. From all indications, they have been doing everything within their disposal to ensure that the ballot papers, security agencies, and every other thing required for elections to take place have been taken care of. Despite the allegations from different sides of the political divides, whereas most of the serious things that have been pointed out requires critical analysis and of course they need to be taken care of. We are sure that the IEBC have tried to reduce chances of misunderstanding between the public and of course even the political parties and of course even some IEBC officials. They have also tried to ensure that come Tuesday next week, there will be no serious issues pertaining election rigging as far as the commission is concerned. There can be a situation whereby the political parties interferes with the legality or the constitutional powers of the IEBC. But in this case, IEBC chairman Wefula Chebukati and his team has tried to ensure that they are in control of everything and there is no external interference witnessed so far. So definitely I can guarantee that they are well prepared for the polls.
And I think both of you agree that the IEBC is prepared. So we cross over live to the Bomas of Kenya just briefly, where Aida Monzati and Faith Kaulu are on standby on what is happening in regards to the IEBC preparedness. So we'll be crossing over live to hear what they have in store this morning and how is the IEBC prepared. What is the talk point at this hour from the Independent and Electoral Boundaries Commission, IEBC, in just a few moments. So we cross over live now to the Bomas of Kenya. All right, and that is a small technical hitch. We'll be crossing over back again at the Bomas of Kenya, where Faith Kaulu and Aida Monzati are on standby. I'm told that they are ready to give us an update of what the IEBC is expected to, do this morning, and also what is happening at the Bomas of Kenya in regards to the IEBC preparedness.
The Bomas of Kenya.
Yeah, indeed, as Aida mentioned, we have braced ourselves up and we'll be here the whole day just to bring you up to speed to anything that will be happening on this end, including pressers from the IEBC. Of course, they're expected to speak about, the final home stretch, which is also what you're talking about right there in Kirk in the morning. Politicians expected to end their campaign rallies by tomorrow, as well as update Kenyans on the ballot papers which are being transferred in different parts of the country in preparation of the elections on August 9th. But right this morning, things are busy right here at the Bomas of Kenya. As we can see in this hub, setup is ongoing, Chris Sambu. But as I mentioned, we'll be bringing you up to speed to once they start. We'll be here to link our viewers live, so just to encourage them to keep it tuned right here at Kirk TV. In the course of the day, Aida Monzati as well has an interview.
Yes, I'll be having an interview with an observer, an IEBC observer, that is an international observer. But just before us talking about that, Faith, you've just mentioned of the transportation of the election ballot papers. So today, there'll be transportation of the presidential ballot papers in different counties. Remember, as of yesterday, 90% of the ballot materials as well as the ballot papers were transferred or just transported to 35 counties and 216 constituency. According to the IEBC team, there is a 90% of the ballot materials that have been transported to the areas, and today is all about the presidential ballot papers that are being transported in different areas and different counties. So that will happen today and tomorrow, and as IEBC or the commissioner led by the chairman, that is Wafula Chebukati, mentioned there are some in different 5 counties. Those are counties in the insecurity areas. That is counties like Wajir, Mandera, as well as Lamu and Tana River. The ballot papers will be airlifted just due to the insecurity in those areas. And now just looking at the interview that I'll be having earlier on, so is an international election observers that I'll be talking about what exactly is or what election observation is all about, what does it entail, and what's the objective of the election observer. So I'll be having a one-on-one with Ben Graham Jones, is the mission leader of Carter Center Election Expert.
All right, and that is a small technical hitch, of course, with the live coverage there of Faith Kaulu and Ida Monzati. They are coming to you live from the Bomas of Kenya. We'll be also crossing over live in the course of this particular discussion as we seek to find out what more is coming out of the IEBC as they prepare for the Tuesday polls. Of course, they have begun their distribution of election materials. So Faith Kaulu and Ida Monzati are giving us an update of what is happening at the Bomas of Kenya.
And Kisumu. Today he's expected in Mombasa to hold his rally at Tononoka, and tomorrow he's expected to wrap up his campaign with a mega rally at Transparency. Situation that definitely raised different concerns. The deputy president saying that he's being opposed to use the Nyayo Stadium, saying that even if he does not
All right, and we'll be crossing over live to Ida Monzase and Faith Kaulu, who are in the Bomas of Kenya, as they give us an update of what is happening right there on IEBC preparedness. And just coming back to our discussion this morning in regards to the election preparedness, 48 hours for the final lap as campaigns come to an end tomorrow. And just welcoming back my guests in studio, Stephen Ogola and Bwana Kiprotich Ngetich. Just to continue with this particular discussion, we expect so much activity. Of course, DP will be campaigning in Nairobi today, as well as a mega rally tomorrow, while the ODM party leader, who is also the Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate, Raila Odinga, will be campaigning in the coastal region today and in Nairobi tomorrow. If you look at these activities, what do you expect in the next 2 days, or rather just 1 day, because already it's Friday and tomorrow is on Saturday when campaigns will come to an end. Kiprotich, what do you expect in the next 48 hours?
Chris, I think tomorrow we are coming to an end of a race that has been a marathon for the last 2 years. And yes, you expect in any athletic race, as at least he's going to finish up the race, he adds some energy to ensure that he or she wins the race. I think both camps will be making their final pitch for their candidature for the 5th presidency of this country. And yet you can see, as usual, to make it I don't know, I'm lacking the correct term to use, to crown it well. Normally, presidential campaign, you add it with the capital city so that you send out that you really command. But for the last 2 days, we need to look at both sides to see the seriousness of the seriousness of any camp as far as making their guest for presidency is. For Kenya Kwanza, you've seen their campaign activities. In a day, they cover at least 4 counties, 5 counties. Even tomorrow, if you are talking today, the deputy president will be in Kamukunji. I'm telling you, today it will be like Laikipia, Nakuru, and then it will be like Laikipia, Nakuru, and then it will come to Nairobi. You see, those are 3 counties. So that tells you, Chris, it is very important also to remind your voters. And when you look at the strategy for both camps during the last campaigns, these 2 last campaigns, how they have structured their campaigns, they have gone to their traditional basis. Like Raila, you saw Raila yesterday in Kisumu. The DP went to Kampani and Coast region. But you see, his deputy, his running mate was in Laikipia. That is part of their strongholds. Today, you see Raila will be going to Mombasa, that has traditionally been his base. That is only to remind their bases that it's very important for them to turn out. The DP will be in Laikipia, Nakuru, and then tomorrow, for tomorrow's campaign, Kenya Kwanza will be ending their rally at Nyayo Stadium. But before then, they will have another rally in Narok and then Nyayo Stadium. So by and large, both camps have made their case to Kenyans. And at this particular point, it's only very many people have made their decisions. I don't know. I don't think there's any person who has not made their decision in terms of who to vote for in those elections. So I think the question, Chris, should not be how their campaign activities have been structured. I think even as we end the campaigns tomorrow, Kenyans should be able to look at what are the issues which are at stake in these elections. And that will be the issues around, so that we don't forget, just look at the rallies. Let us not forget the issues which are there in this election. So in these elections, there will be, in this election, issue of the cost of living, issues of quality health care, and then unemployment among the young people. So I think as we go to vote in next weeks, that is, Kenyans should be able now to look at, in terms of both camps, which of the two camps has a better plan for them in terms of those two critical issues. I'm saying this, Chris, because it's not, a campaign is all about promises. And we need to look at the current political setups in terms of the structure, how it is. Currently, we have a government led by President Uhuru Kenyatta, but it is some kind of an handshake arrangement. So, quote unquote, we call it an handshake government. And when, for the past 2 days, when we talk about issue number one, I've talked about the cost of living. Azimio presidential candidate in one of his rallies, I think in Nakuru, said, I've talked to the president, for example, to reduce the cost of unga in supermarkets to 100 shillings. 200 shillings, from 230 to 100 shillings. And the question we are asking ourselves is, even can I ask you, Chris, have you got a chance to buy that price anunga at 100 shillings? Definitely no. So we are saying that, so the arrangement we have at the moment is an handshake government led by the president and Azimio candidates. So Kenyans should be able to tell, are we going to vote for change, or are we going to vote for the people who are just saying it for the sake? Kenyans should be able to look at the sincerity and honesty in their leaders. Because if Raila Odinga, the Azimio presidential candidate, is in government right now, they have all the powers to address the issues I'm talking about. And have they been able to address the issues of the cost of living? No. So going into these elections, Kenyans should look at these two camps critically in terms of those issues with us in these elections. Let's leave all those fun that is we see in all rallies, and look at the best coalition, the best camp that can be able to address those critical issues: healthcare, cost of living, and unemployment. I think those are the issues that are very important that we look at in these elections. And
talking about the issues, coming to your Ogolla, the final appeal to Kenyans is happening tomorrow. Campaigns are coming to an end. What do we expect out of the final campaigns of the different presidential candidates?
Mr. Chris, the finishing strategy and of course the energy used towards the finishing line matters a lot in every competition. Both the presidential campaign teams, the Azimio team and the Kenya Kwanza team, they have employed almost similar strategies in their campaign structure. For instance, they have tried to ensure that they reach out to different Kenyans in different places, different parts of the country, regardless of their economic status. They are trying to reach people in the interior and also in the urban areas. They have also split their campaign teams such that different people visit different places at different times. Contrary to the previous things whereby you could see the entire campaign team moving together. That was just to ensure that they spread their agenda across to different voters in the country. As they are finishing within the next, let's just call it a day, because we have only tomorrow. These people have to base their campaign strategy on mobilizing voters for 100% or maybe a maximum turnout. If you had Raila in Kisumu the other time, Kisumu is a place that is perceived to be stronghold, but still he had to go there. Traditionally, Raila could not go to campaign in Nyanza, especially towards the finishing time, but they have to visit their perceived strongholds just to urge people to turn out in large numbers, because the winning in this campaign will not be based majorly by the promises that these presidential candidates are telling people, since majority have already made a decision. But the winning will be based on how many supporters will we manage, or will the presidential candidates manage to convince to go and cast their votes. Because even a single vote will count in this case. Remember, we are looking at 50+1 in this vote. If some people, 2 or 3 fails to vote, it might significantly affect the chances of a presidential candidate. If you heard Raila saying the other time, he was saying that let us try to ensure that even the disabled are able to go and cast their votes. Even the sick are carried to their polling stations to cast their votes. So as they are moving towards the finishing line, the clear strategy at the moment is to lure people, to convince them for a massive voter turnout. Or on the contrary, as Kenyans, we are expecting to evaluate these presidential candidates on their last days, if they are really going to cater for the needs of Kenyans, or they are only concerned about maintaining their status quo. If we look at the Azimio campaign team, we are going to be concerned. Is the presidential candidate William Ruto concerned about maintaining the status quo, or is he concerned about alleviating poverty, or creating employment opportunities, or reducing the high cost of living that we are experiencing right now, and also providing better health care for Kenyans, as my learned friend has put it. When we go also on the side of the Azimio presidential candidate, that is Raila Amolo Odinga, we are also going to evaluate as supporters before we cast our votes. And of course, that is what will motivate us to go and cast votes. Under normal circumstances, you'll realize that some people will claim they will not go to cast their vote, because by the end of the day, the voting process never changed their lives. We are concerned about these presidential candidates. Are they going to guarantee that when Kenyans this time we vote, that vote will actually bring an opportunity for us or our lives to change as ordinary citizens? The cost of living has been completely unbearable. Mr. Chris, you can imagine a scenario whereby Kenyans spend a lot of energy working, striving to put food on the table. And once that food is on the table, they become too tired to even chew and swallow. That is the situation or the scenario that we are in right now in Kenya. We want a situation whereby the presidential candidates are not just going to give us, to convince and persuade us through empty rhetorics, as it has always been the norm. But we must ensure that when they come to convince us during the last day to talk to their voters, are they going to guarantee and provide structures that once we ascend them to power, they are going to put our public interest first before their personal gains? When we looked at Uhuru Kenyatta, my learned friend has raised the issue of the handshake government. In my opinion, I think the rightful president who is ruling the country as at now is Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta.
Who is his assistant?
Raila has been a reigning president, people's president, or ever since. He has always been concerned only about the public interest and not personal interest. If you look at a scenario in 2007, Raila decided to put away his personal interest for the public interest to reign. He ran for 5 years. That is between 2007 to 2013 as the Prime Minister. But we know how much his efforts to maybe transform the lives of Kenyans were curtailed by the government then, because most of the major decisions probably could make as the Prime Minister were thwarted by people in government who are the opposite side. When the Uhuru Kenyatta and the Deputy President William Ruto took over in 2013, 2017, a lot of promises were made to Kenyans. And these are things we expected to see the then government to achieve. Unfortunately, they were never achieved. We can mention but a few. The issue of the cost of living. It has not just started yesterday. We had been experiencing these things through from 2013. Just that the effect is felt today. The effect that we are feeling today is as a result of mismanagement of government resources that started back from 2013. The effect is today. When Raila shook hands,
let him finish.
When Raila shook hands with Uhuru in 2017, post-2017 elections, the aim was not about controlling the government or being part of the government, but it was to create peace. And I can guarantee you that Kenyans have enjoyed a lot of peace and political tolerance since the handshake. Raila could talk to Uhuru just as a friend and raise certain concerns. Like right now, we saw some serious projects taking place in Nyanza. It was as a result of just a personal talk to a friend, like an approach my friend may teach and seek for some assistance which are within his disposals. But the key decisions lies within the people in government, most of which comes from the Jubilee government. Some of them came from the DP Ruto side. We know that they were enjoying government 50-50, right? Some of them comes from the Uhuru side. These are the people who make decisions that affect the lives of Kenyans directly. We want a scenario in 2022, post-2022, August 9th. We want a situation whereby if Ruto takes over power, then we'll be fully in control of the decision makings. And if Raila takes over power, he will be fully in control of decision makings to ensure that whichever promises they make to Kenyans will be satisfied, will be fulfilled, and they will bring significant changes to Kenyans rather than just stories and rhetorics, hearsays, and rumors that cannot take Kenyans to another step.
Ngetich, even as you seek to respond to that, because I know you have to respond to that, how significant is tomorrow's, arguments of a final appeal? Of course, they're all appealing from Nairobi. How significant is the last day, even as you respond to the issues that Ogolla has raised in regards to post-2022 election?
Okay, thank you, Chris. I think I want, before I respond to the significance of tomorrow's events, I'd like to address some of the issues my friend here has raised. And I would like to, like the fact that he was, in the beginning of his contribution, he tried so much to prove that he was on a neutral perspective in terms of looking at both camps, but towards the end, he showed his true colors when he heaped praises on one of the candidates in this election. So I think it is dishonest for my friend Mr. Ogolla to say the cost of living has been high as from 2013. And that is not true, because before the handshake in 2013, Chris, the cost of unga was 100 shillings. Today in the handshake government, it is 250, 230 to 250 Kenya shillings. Before the handshake, Chris, the price of petrol was below 100 shillings per litre. Today we are talking about 150 shillings. So those are the things that we're saying that the handshake government has done. Those are the evils that we are saying that the handshake government has done to the people of Kenya, that in these elections we should be able to change. It is also not true for my friend to claim that Azimio presidential candidate has always been after public interest. We can assume, Chris, that after the handshake in 2013, it was for the unity and the public good of the country. But now, at what price? Because immediately after the handshake, opposition of this country was killed. That is why now the government, the corruption in the government, and most of the things in government, officials went on a looting spree. A case in point, Chris, we talk of Kemsa scandal. Kemsa scandal, there's also, I think, I don't remember another scandal, a number of corruption cases, Chris, which have not been addressed simply because the handshake managed to kill opposition in this country. And here even some of the beneficiaries of that Kemsa scandal are in Azimio. So what we are saying is the president promised to have an investigation in 21 days to expose the culprits of that scandal. 2 years later, we don't have. So we are saying that after the handshake, I think Azimio presidential candidate let go of his liberation credentials and I think went for his self-aggrandizement in terms of, I think the handshake was all about 2022. I think President Kenyatta promised to support him like we are seeing today. Initially, he tried to refuse the fact that it was not about 2022, but it is showing now that it was all about 2022. So when my friend Ogola talked about who is going to preserve status quo, I think that is very clear in these elections. A candidate who is for status quo and a candidate who is for change. Because we are seeing normally, Chris, and it is in public domain, status quo are preserved by those in the establishment, in the government, who are running the country. And we can see those who are running the country in whose side are they. So we can ask ourselves the question is, who are pro-status quo in these elections? I think anybody can answer that. Anybody can see who is in. So what we are saying is this election is very important for Kenyans, just like in 2002 elections. And I think Kenyans will wake up to the rallying goal of 2002, which brought NAC, that is Rainbow Coalition, to power, because people were tired of the then regime. And you see the then regime that was led by late President Moi, may he so rest in eternal peace, was supporting a candidate that was then a project in the name of Uhuru Kenyatta. And you see how Kenyans normally reviews projects. They reviews in 2022. In 2002. 2022, the same establishment, that regime that is currently running the country, that is the regime of President Uhuru Kenyatta, also have a project in the name of Azimio presidential candidate Raila Odinga. History, like I've said, Kenya is going to repeat itself in this election. Kenyans are going to reject a project just like they did in 2002, because people urgently need a government that believes. You see, when Kibaki took over in 2002, you saw a lot of changes in terms of running of government, free education, a lot of things. And you see now, presidential candidate, Kenya Kwanza presidential candidate William Ruto has also promised to change that is in the caliber of what Kibaki did in 2022. Coming to your question, Chris, about the significance of tomorrow's events, I think that will be the last ditch, and I want to agree with my friend Ogola, that will be the last ditch for presidential candidates to tell their bases to turn up to vote. I think from now on, it's all about encouraging voter turnout. And by all projections, in this election, we will not have a turnout more than 80%. I think it will be around 75% or there. So it will be now for the two camps to see in terms of their bases, their strongholds, how many votes are there, and who is likely to win in this election. So I've told you, Chris, this election is a third liberation of this country. Just like in 1992, where there was a second liberation for multi-party democracy. 2002, which was also a landmark election, where was the change of the regime, the removal of a status quo. 2022 also is significant in that matter. It will be a third liberation that will be forecast on economic liberation to address the gap which has existed, which is now, I think 3 weeks ago when I was in this station, that we are at a point worse than what J.M. Kariuki described in 1975 about the gap between the rich and the poor. J.M. then said, in Kenya, there are 10 millionaires and 10 million paupers. The Kenya we are today, we have around less than 10 trillionaires and around 47 million poor Kenyans. So what I'm telling you, the poverty level in this country, Chris, in 2017, it was standing around 36%. Right now, we are at around 50%. And we're saying that it boils down to dwindling in terms of the economic environment, which has not been performing well. That has been skewed against SMEs.
Okay.
So what you're saying is, like now, the money we are earning today, right? It is estimated that for every shilling you earn, Kenyans spend 52% of that on foodstuffs. So in this election, it's about the economy, reducing the cost of living. And there's only one camp, from where I sit, there's only one camp that has articulated their plan to address the issues I'm raising. And that is the Kenya Kwanza Coalition. So I'm urging Kenyans, I'm not campaigning on this platform, to look at critically.
Definitely, you should not campaign.
Yes. To look at the issues, the agendas the two countries are presented, and make sure that this third liberation moment will deliver a victory for all. So that will be liberating our economy through a bottom-up economic model.
All right, and at that point we'll be coming back to your goal as well to also put out your opinions, but we are taking a very short commercial break right now, and as we also be trying to seek out on the Bomas of Kenya what is happening and how prepared is the IBC as well as the election observers. So we take a very short commercial break, we'll cross over live to Bomas of Kenya, and then when we come back to our discussion, we'll be looking at what the political parties, or rather the political coalition, had to say yesterday, as well as the different issues raised by the Deputy President while in his address yesterday. So we take a short break, we'll be right back.
Celestine Kemunto. I'm taking a bachelor's in business information technology. I chose ZTech because, first of all, ZTech has been ranked among the best in ICT, and I thought it will be best. It will be best for my course. First of all, there are so many ICT labs in ZTech University, which enables students, mostly those who are pursuing IT courses, to get to know more about their courses, of which the labs have so many computers which have Ethernet, which is easier for them to browse. If I were given a chance to choose another university, I'll definitely choose ZTech University.
Apply today. ZTech University. Invent your future.
What a wonderful year our dear God has granted to us. 2022 Boys and Girls Brigade Week. Our theme this year comes from the book of Hebrews chapter 13 verse 6. And the Bible says, "The Lord is my helper, I'll not be afraid. What can a mere mortal do to me?" Therefore, from the same theme, we get a consolidated theme of we invite all of you to join us in our programs that are lined up for you in the whole week. We have wonderful morning devotions brought to you from different parts of the Republic of Kenya by young children preaching the Word of God.
My dear parents, my dear brothers and sisters, I want to encourage you with one thing. Tell God, I have to go with you.
We also have wonderful programs brought to you by the hosts of different programs in the Kirk TV majoring on children affairs. Therefore, we invite all of you, children and adults, to join us and have a fantastic week. The climax of the whole week will be on Sunday, when we have wonderful services brought to you through the TV and our YouTube channel and Facebook from different parishes within the Presbyterian Church of East Africa. Note the one that will be coming to you from the neighboring country, St. John's, Kinondoni in Tanzania. We believe that you are going to have a fantastic week of the week as we look forward for next week when we have the general elections, considering trusting in God.
Waters touching your latest breath on the rising tide, you can never fail when your anchor holds deep in
Tuendelee na kuombea nchi yetu, na tuombee hata wakati wa uchaguzi na baada ya uchaguzi tuwe na amani. Na wale ambao wanawania viti pia tuwaombee kama vile tunasema, ili pia na wao katika matamshi yao wasije wakaleta uchochezi, wasije wakaleta fujo na furugu. Tuwe na nchi ambao iko na amani na kila mtu ako na kula yake, achague kulingana na vile conscience yake inamuelekeza na inamuongoza, na vile utakuwa umeomba na Mungu akuongoze na kupeleke. Kanisa hatusemi uchague upande huu au upande ule. Tunasema ya kwamba you pray, the church is praying, vote. The most important thing is that you vote. Na uvote kulingana na conscience yako vile itakupeleka.
Are you looking to grow your business? Kirk TV offers you a variety of advertising opportunities to suit your budget. Advertise with us today and reach your potential customers countrywide. For more information, email us on sales@kirktv.org or call 011 00 90 647.
Agosti 9, siku ya siku. Wakenya wazalendo wa matabaka yote wanapania kufanya uamuzi debeni. Uamuzi ambao utaathiri mustakabali wa taifa hili kwa miaka 5 ijayo. Mwandani wako runinga ya Kirk, tupo tayari kutembea nawe kila hatua ya uchaguzi mkuu wa Agosti 9. Tutakuletea ripoti za moja kwa moja kutoka kwenye vituo vya kupigia kura, matangazo na uchambuzi wa kipekee studioni hadi nususi za matokeo kila yatakapotukia. Kila siku saa 24 tutakufahamisha kiuhakika na kiufasaha hadi pale mshindi atakapotangazwa. Kirk TV, uchaguzi 2022.
And let's latch on to something, I don't care how tiny it is, that is a good thing in our life, something that God is doing in us. I want you to decide tonight 2 things: that you are going to help more people than you've ever helped before, and that you are going to let God work with you every day of your life to be more and more excellent and better at everything that you do. And the more you celebrate the good things, the smaller the bad things are going to become. Come on now.
Enjoy Everyday Life with Joyce Meyer every day at 9 p.m. for encouraging and impacting moments on Kirk TV.
All right, thank you so much, Sambu. Indeed, we are still coming to you live from the Bomas of Kenya. Remember, this is the National Tallying Center of the presidential results. So we are still coming to you live here in Sambu. As you put it, we'll still be camping right here at the Bomas of Kenya just to bring you up to date with what exactly is happening. Remember, the chairman of the IEBC Commission is here. That is our Wafula Chebukati, and he'll just be giving press briefs to the media just to let us know of what exactly is happening and just keeping us up to date with how the IEBC is planning to do even as we approach the general election that is on 9th August. So right about now, we are going to look at election observation. So what exactly does election observation entail and what exactly does it mean? I know that it's not a new term to many Kenyans, but most of us do not understand what exactly election observation entails, and that's why I'm being joined by Ben Graham Jones from the Carter Center. You're welcome, Ben. How are you doing this morning?
Very well, thank you, Ida.
All right. So tell us, first of all, about your mission in Kenya. That's in terms of international election observation. So what exactly is your mission in Kenya?
So the Carter Center Election Expert Mission to Kenya is accredited by the IEBC, and our mandate is to conduct an assessment of the role of technology in the process. So we're looking at technology from a number of angles. We're looking at the technical character of the system itself and transparency. We're looking at communications around election technology. We're looking at data privacy, and we're looking at the legal framework around the use of election technology.
So you've mentioned quite a key thing, that is data privacy. So for the three elements that you've mentioned that you'll be concentrating on, what does data privacy entail, communication as well as technology? Just in brief, what exactly the three elements entail?
Sure. So data privacy, we're assessing that in terms of a collaboration with an organisation called Privacy International. That's an organisation based in London. And your data is all about the information that exists about us. So, for example, on a voter register. But I mentioned the other elements. So, for example, in terms of looking at the system itself, we'll be looking at results transmission. We've been looking at the biometric voter registration and voter verification systems. We've been looking at the case management system for petitions and for appeals and legal cases that can get filed in the process. And as I say, we've also been looking very much at the communications around election technology, and that's things like voter education and looking at how the IEBC communicates around the use of technology.
All right, so when you're talking of these are election petitions, that means you'll be here or you'll be in Kenya until or after even the general election just to see or just to observe of what exactly will be happening. So you've mentioned that you are not a Kenyan-based, let me say, organization. So someone will be wondering, what is an international organization doing and why are they observing elections in Kenya?
Well, that's a great question, Ada, and actually we are here because we've been invited to be here. We're accredited by the IEBC, and it's a very normal thing. It's international election observation is a long-established practice. We operate according to what's called the Declaration of Principles for International Election Observation, and that outlines really a series of values that we adhere to. For example, conducting long-term observation, making sure that our conclusions are always based on our analysis and on evidence. And that's why, for example, for the Carter Center, we started our work with a remote period of observation earlier in the year. We then deployed a pre-election assessment team, that was through June and July, and we're now here with an election expert mission that's going to take us right through the rest of the process.
Okay, so when we are talking about election observation, even before we get into it and just at the process, when we are talking about election observations, for someone who do not understand, for a Kenyan who do not understand, what exactly is election observation?
So election observation is the process of assessing or observing an election based on either domestic legislation or international standards. And by international standards, we're talking about a long-established set of documents and treaties that have been signed up to by the country itself. By domestic legislation, we're talking about the laws that have been passed by a country's parliament. So that's really the basis of our assessment, and it's on that basis that as an election expert team we will present our preliminary conclusions, and that will come in the days following the election, and then eventually our final report, which will outline a series of recommendations based on that analysis, and that final report will follow several months after election day.
Okay, so you can now take us through the process, so what exactly happens?
Sure. So a key principle of election observation is that we will conduct interviews with stakeholders, and for us that's been right across Kenya. So when I was leading our pre-election assessment team, we travelled right across Kenya. We travelled to Nakuru, we travelled to Mombasa, we travelled to Nyeri, we travelled to Kisumu, and in all of these places we were conducting many interviews with civil society organisations, with election officials, with political parties, with journalists and the media, and so the reason that we do that is because we think it's incredibly important to make an assessment based on a full range of perspectives, and that's the process that we're continuing through right now. We also undertake legal analysis. We've got a world-renowned legal expert who's part of our team, who's analysing the overall legal framework. So you've got that process of analysis, and then you've also got that process of conducting those interviews and hearing different people's perspectives on the process.
All right, so you've mentioned of having interviews with the media, with the commission as well, with political parties and even the candidates, and you've also spoken of the recommendations. And personally, I feel like the recommendation, that's where the challenge, I don't know if you agree, but that's where the challenge comes in. So when you recommend of, let me say, of how you observed the election and what exactly happened in this particular election, so for your recommendations, are they implemented? So how exactly can they be implemented? Do you recommend for them to be implemented in the next election, or how exactly does that work?
So that's a great question, and actually as an election expert team, a big part of our focus is on 2027, and actually looking forward, taking that long-term perspective about the whole of the election cycle, about the entirety of the election cycle. So when we pose those recommendations, that will come several months after election day, very much grounded on the analysis that we've done, and they will be directed at particular stakeholders. So, for example, we might pose recommendations perhaps to the IBC or to lawmakers, all oriented around that process of analysis, where we look at the process in terms of election technology against international standards and domestic legislation.
Okay, so in terms of technology, data privacy, and even communication, as you put them, yesterday the IEBC had a session with election observers, and they were just putting in place of their plan from their end. So from where you sit, what are some of the things that, let me say, impressed you in terms of the plans that IEBC has put in place in terms of just conducting this general election?
So that's a great question, and actually I think that one of the key principles for us as an election expert mission charged with making that assessment is that our conclusions should rightly come after the election, because it's really important that when we arrive at those conclusions, they're based on that long-term analysis, that we've got all the information at our disposal to be able to make those conclusions, and that's why rather than necessarily giving a sort of a running commentary on the process, we will tend to provide our preliminary statement in those days after the election, and that final report with those recommendations several months following election day.
So you'll allow me to ask this. I'm sure you've conducted election observation in other countries, even in other African countries. Yeah. So what are some of the things that you saw in those African countries, or even non-African countries, that you can probably link to Kenya and even recommend, even as we head to the general election, not just to the commission, but to the citizens as well?
So I think that I mean, I've served here in many countries as an election observer and as an election analyst, but I think that a real key principle in the Declaration of Principles for International Election Observation is that we don't compare countries. Our basis for analysis, when we are invited by Kenya to conduct our observation, in our case a an assessment focused very much on election technology. Our basis of analysis are the laws that Kenya themselves has passed, and also those international standards that we spoke about. So, I served recently, for example, in Zambia, actually under a Kenyan head of mission. I served in Senegal, in Madagascar, Gabon, but it's not my job as an international election observer to start comparing different countries in our process of analysis.
Alright, so as we wind up, just to let our viewers know that we are still coming to you live from the Bomas of Kenya, and I'm having a one-on-one with Graham Benz Jones, who is an international election observer. And so if you have any questions, if you have any comments in regards to election observation, just feel free to send in your questions. That is on our WhatsApp and SMS number, that is 0111 220044, and Ben is happy and will be glad to respond to that. So Ben, even before we maybe just have a look at what exactly our audience is asking, just tell us a little bit about now the Carter Center.
Sure. So the Carter Center was founded by President Carter and his wife Rosalind Carter. And the Carter Center very much takes election observation as one of the key activities that it conducts. Now, in this case, we aren't a traditional election observation mission. We're not looking at all the different aspects of the process, and that's something that we do sometimes. Sometimes we do look at lots of different aspects of the process, but in this case we are focused very much on election technology, its use and its communication. So the Carter Center has activities right across the globe. We've observed a number of elections in Kenya. We've got a long history of engagement in Kenya. And that's something that we're pleased to be able to take forward as part of this election expert mission.
Right. So, and definitely I would applaud you, or just give you a thumbs up for the work that you're doing among other international election observers. So you just mentioned over, let's say right now we are the Bomas of Kenya, this is the National Tallying Center. So what are some of the things that you'll be observing just under the three element, or under the three pillars that you've mentioned? What are some of the things that you'll be observing right here, that is at the National Tallying Center? Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, for example, just yesterday we were speaking to some of the staff involved in running the media center, actually just over here, thinking about, okay, what's the way in which the IEBC is communicating, and really using those conversations to inform our assessment of the way in which technology is being communicated in the election. We've got our legal analyst on the ground, and I know she's very much interested in the different legal processes around that. Of course, we have the court judgment just yesterday. I know that we're also very much, in terms of data privacy, actually, that's an analysis that's been long-standing. We had our partners, Privacy International, on the ground actually for during July. So really there's a number of streams to our analysis, but I'd say the key thing that we're looking at, one of the key things that we do here at the National Tallying Center is we speak to people involved in the process, hear their perspectives, and try and find out more information so that we can arrive at a well-informed assessment of the role of technology in the process.
How about at the ground level, that is now at the polling stations?
Sure, so we won't be sending out tens of observers into different polling stations, and there will be other declaration of principles election observation missions that do that. But as an election expert team, because our focus is very much quite narrowly defined in terms of looking at technology, members of our team will go into and have a look at technology and its use on election day. We will be we'll have activities in place on election day, but we won't be sending numbers of observers right across the country. And that's why the conclusions we come to won't be a comprehensive assessment of the voting process, of the counting process, of the tabulation process. But what it will be a defined assessment based on those issues around election technology that we've got some really leading experts on our team to look at those issues.
Okay, you also mentioned about voter education. So as we wind up the interview, you can just look at that camera, and let's just hear from you in terms of the voter education. observation and just your final words to Kenyans and even to leaders as we head to the general election that is on 9th August.
Sure. So I am an election observer, and so not a voter education provider. But what I would say is that I hope that our conversation today has been helpful in understanding a little bit about the role of election observers. And what I can say is that the Carter Centre we're one of a number of organisations who will be continuing to look at the process, and the aspect of the process that we're looking at is very much on the role and the perception of election technology. I'd say have a look at our preliminary statement, which will come no earlier than 5 days after the election. So that's when we'll be producing our first conclusions. And do take a look at our final report, which will be coming out a number of months after the election. That will include recommendations based on the analysis of our experts.
So where they be looking out for, maybe on social media or the website, or where exactly?
Absolutely. So we'll publish those on the Centre website. We'll publish those on Carter Centre social media as well. So do definitely check that out. And yeah, that's what you'll be seeing from us: a preliminary statement and a final report.
Okay, thank you so much, Graham Ben Jones. Thank you so much for your insight and even for just educating us and telling us more about election observation, even as we look at the international bit of it. So thank you so much, and we are wishing you well. And I personally look forward, or CAC TV looks forward to just looking at the analysis after the election and the recommendation for us to actually learn from it, even as we look forward to the next general election. So thank you so much, and we wish you well.
Thanks a lot, Ida.
All right, so that was Graham Ben. We were discussing about election observation, just looking at the international bit of it. Remember, we have a number of international election observers. We have some from the European Union, we have the UN, we have from Kenya, we have FIDA, among other election observation agents. Yes, so we are still coming to you from our Bomas of Kenya. Remember, this is the National Tallying Center where the presidential results will be streaming in, and I and my colleague Faith Kaulu, we are here and we'll be updating you and putting you up to speed with exactly what will be happening here. Remember, during the day, or just as the day breaks, the chairman of IEBC, that is our Fula Chebukati, will be having a briefing session with the media, and we'll be right here just to inform you and tell you more about what exactly will be happening. Just to put you up to speed, we were having an interview with Graham Ben Jones of the Carter Centre. That is an international election observation. So that is all we have for you from the Bomas of Kenya. We take you back to studio for our normal programming.
All right, and that is Ida Monzatsi, who is on the Bomas of Kenya, of course, trying to follow up on what IEBC is preparing in regards to the Tuesday polls. Of course, the electoral observation coming out significantly in that particular interview. And just coming back to studio in our conversation this morning, we are talking about what we expect in the next few days before the general election. And now tuning in gears and just coming to you, Ogola, just quickly after that conversation was about election observation. And I want to understand from you, how significant is the election observation from the international community and even also from our local agencies?
Chris, before I get to the election observation and its significance in credibility of elections, allow me to touch on fundamental issues raised by my colleague before we were cut short. The high cost of living we experience right now, as I did mention, are a ripple effect of massive economic crimes committed between 2013 and 2017. They did not just come all of a sudden by a night that the cost of basic commodities just shot up without certain economic misappropriation of funds in the previous regime. Towards every electioneering period, there are different political vehicles being formed. We saw this time that it just happened that Raila Odinga formed the made a political formation with the president as the chairman of the Azimio. As a president, he has a right to vote and of course to incline towards a specific political vehicle. Similarly, Ruto formed a political vehicle with some people previously were part of the opposition always. That is Mudavadi and Wetangula. So it's very normal and very obvious for every person to get aligned towards a specific political formation. It's not by chance that Uhuru and Raila came together to form an Azimio. So to me, that should not be an issue of concern that because Uhuru came together with Raila, that's the reason today Kenyans are suffering. That's a big lie. Secondly, alluding that Ruto and Kenya Kwanza will be the people to liberate Kenyans from the high economic situation we are encountering right now is unfathomable. We clearly understand that it's common knowledge, the perpetuators of the current situation we are in right now. It is true Kenyans, we really need to be liberated. We need to be liberated from bad governance. We need to be liberated from the high cost of living. We need to be liberated from the high unemployment we are experiencing right now. However, it is unfortunate to claim that Ruto, who has never played a part in any liberation since Kenya started, will now be the angel to take us to the promised land as we have always been hoping. That aside, let me be rational enough and get to your question. Election observation plays a fundamental role in guaranteeing the credibility and free and fair elections that we all need. It has been purported by the other team, that is the Kenya Kwanza team, that the president is trying to plan a rigging scheme in this coming election. The only thing I do not understand, that when Raila was crying previously about IBC not doing certain things right, this is the same man who kept saying, achana na IBC alone. Achana na IBC alone. Now it's coming to reality that surely every political divide have got a serious role in ensuring that IBC do not get any external interference, which is very necessary. So the observers are there to ensure that one, there will be no any political or external interference with the IBC role and structure in ensuring that elections get on smoothly, and by the end of it, all the results that will be streamed to Kenyans will be the actual results as they come from the polling stations. Election observers will also ensure that the process, election is not only about the results, the process also matters. They will be there to witness the process of the election from the very beginning when the polling centers will be opened and to the very end when the results will be announced. Election observers will also ensure that their witnesses and whatever they will say how will be considered heavily, because they will be there to monitor everything that happens from the very beginning to the end. So by the end of the entire process, if the election observers will realize any malice, it will be very important that they bring it to attention of Kenyans and of course the necessary authorities to ensure that whatever malice that is or any monkey business does not take place during the process. And with their presence, it is guaranteed that we will have a very smooth, peaceful and credible election.
That's coming to you, Ngetich. You're talking about the election observation. Does it work for Kenya? Does it has been done before and done in 2007, done in 2013, 2017. The election observation by international communities. Does it work for a credible election in Kenya?
Okay, Chris, that is a great question. And before I come to it, I think I need to demystify some of the things my friend raised. Like, Chris, as a citizen of the Republic of Kenya, no one has a monopoly of liberation credentials. It doesn't mean maybe for whatever reason, I may not have been part of any of those struggles in the past. But no, everyone can get an awakening call. So no one, you cannot say Raila or Azimio and co have the monopoly of liberation credentials, because inside there are people who have worked with Kanu government, have worked with Kibaki government. So the moment now we say this is a third liberation and can only be delivered by a candidate who is not after preserving the status quo and the state capture. We also need to correct my friend when he says that the cost of living is as a result of a ripple effect. Economically speaking, it is in terms of ripple effect of what? But I permit me, Chris, to school him on the cost of the current cost of living. The reason why unga is at that price. The reason why price of fuel is at that price. Before the handshake in 2018, the government of the Republic of Kenya was offering subsidies on fertilizer. So was offering subsidies on fertilizer, which now made it possible for farmers to purchase a bag of fertilizer at 2,500 shillings. But after the handshake government, those subsidies was removed, and the price of fertilizer jumped to 6,700. That can only explain the current cost of unga. Before the handshake in 2018, Chris, government of the Republic of Kenya was offering subsidies on fuel, and there is also a plan by September to remove those subsidies. So the removal of subsidies on important basic consumable to Kenyans has resulted to the rising cost of living. So you cannot, and by this handshake government, and Azimio presidential candidate is part and parcel of it as a chief advisor and the de facto deputy president. So coming to your question on observations, please, it is very important for any elections world over, even in the United States, UK, world over, there are election observers in every elections. I think at one time Raila Odinga was an observer in, I think, Botswana, or it was Namibia, and he has also been one of the observers in Western region. Observers are very important in the sense, Chris, you can see even as we go to elections on Tuesday next week, you can still hear from the participants, from the players, that is the Azimio and Kenya Kwanza teams, raising questions on the elections in terms of how fair and credible elections will be. So observers will be able to pick on those points and make recommendations on areas where IEBC can improve on. If you have got a chance to read the curricular commission, part of what curricular commission recommended after 2007 elections was the use of voter biometric identification of voters, because it was known the reason why 2007 elections were bungled, because manual identification of voters was prone to severe manipulation. So to cure that, if you identify the voters electronically, it will only mean only those voters who have turned up to vote will be able to vote. As opposed to, if you use a manual register, anybody can vote for someone who is not even in the polling station. So observers reports in any elections are very important, because it will assist electoral commission and also the stakeholders in the election process, that is politicians, in future elections, in preparing, as in preparation for an elections which we can be deemed to be free, fair, credible. Because any elections all over is not 100% tamper-proof. because you haven't read in 2016 election, U.S. presidential election, Democrats complained of Russian interference in the election using Cambridge Analytica and all those things. So even in developed democracies at that level of United States, you could still hear there are manipulations in the elections. So election observers come in handy in terms of sealing those loopholes that we are saying now, so that as we move towards providing, or as we move towards building electoral commissions that can over tamper-proof elections, that can now, that can have the trust, because the only thing which is lacking in all these elections is the trust. The trust. Each player in these elections is suspicious of what the other can do with the process. So the more we improve our systems in terms of electoral systems based on various recommendations, both by the players and observers, the more the IBC, not the IBC, the electoral process, the electoral commissions or the electoral bodies will gain trust from the players. That way we'll be able to cure those issues around the suspicion.
Yes. And even talking about the election observation, of course, being a very significant issue here as we wait for the as we head to the August polls on Tuesday. There is something that the DP raised in regards, to the issues surrounding the preparedness of that particular election on Tuesday, raising concerns on the use of government officials in pushing the agenda for his arch rival, and also talking about different aspects of what he expects to be done so that we can have a fair election. That is what the DP said in regards to, accusing his opponents of different issues that have been coming up in regards to how well can we have a free, fair election. Observation being a very important role. We're taking that clip and listening to what the DP had to raise yesterday, in addition to what he had to say while he's in campaigns in Mombasa.
Hawa majamaa tayari wanajua tutawashinda on Tuesday, na ndio sababu wako na tunjama nyingi, wanatengeneza opinion poll 10 kwa wiki mbili. Yaani hata ile uongo wanaeneza wenyewe hawaiamini, wanaenda kutafuta uongo ingine, lakini hatujali na mambo ya opinion poll. Ile inatujalisha ni kwamba hawa watu wako na njama ya kuvuruga uchaguzi, na tumemwambia rais wa taifa letu la Kenya, wewe unaweza kuwa chairman wa Azimio, lakini ukumbuke wewe ni rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Hatutaki wafanyikazi wa serikali, machief na wale wengine wote walazimishwe, washurutishwe ati wafanye kuwa campaigners wa Azimio. Sisi tunataka kumwambia rais, public officials must remain public officials. They should go and vote like all Kenyans, but they should not be used as puppets or as workers or as errand boys of the Azimio failed project.
Opinion polls za uongo, wanaanza kutumia machief, wanaanza kutumia watu wa serikali, wanafanya
And that is what the Kenya Kwanza team raised while in their campaigns in Mombasa. And just coming to you, Ogola, 3 days to election and the DP is raising very critical issues. How significant are the issues that is raising towards the Tuesday polls?
It's laughable that the deputy president can raise such critical issues, claiming that the government is forcing chiefs and some administrative officers to campaign for the Azimio candidate. We've not seen any evidence where these people are coercing voters to vote towards any particular candidate. When we look back to 2017 elections, the then NASA presidential candidate, Raila Odinga, complained a lot about the government using the public officers to campaign in their favor. But we all know that then Ruto could complain every then and now that Raila should stop using the names of Matiang'i everywhere he goes to campaign. We are witnessing a similar scenario right now. However, I can clearly state that the government officials are mainly considered on matters security. Like yesterday, Karaja Kibicho made a statement, that is the PS security, that they have always been meeting these chiefs on public gatherings, and after discussing matters security, they have always updated the public on their discussions to guarantee and ensure that by the end of the, throughout the voting process, and even after that, there will be peace everywhere in every part of the country. We've witnessed scenarios whereby the country breaks out into pre- post-elections.
I'm told your mic has had a technical glitch, so as they engage and sort it out, let me talk to Ngetich as also come back to you so that you can complete your submission. Of course, these are technical issues that happen in live broadcasts. And just coming to Ngetich, how malicious are DP Ruto's allegations that the government is persuading administrative officers to push for the election of his political opponent?
Chris, let me first start by correct. It's not malicious. It's not malicious. Those are genuine concerns being raised by.
How genuine are they?
Those are genuine concerns being raised by the deputy president, the Kenya Kwanza candidate, because Chris, the way we operate in Kenya, we are not operating in a vacuum. These reports these reports and the issues the DP is raising are not just being raised for the sake. Remember, Deputy President has supporters on the ground, and even then, you see in their strongholds, we have a chief. They say even in Kericho, for example, that is one of the strongholds of the Deputy President. Definitely, even though that chief is working for the government, I can tell you for free, he also has a right to vote for his candidate. And by that, I mean he or she will be voting for the DP. We also have another chief in Homa Bay. That is a stronghold of the Azimio candidate, Raila Odinga. You can even from where he's come from, if we are to assess from that fact, he is affiliated to Azimio presidential candidate. So these reports are not just raised out of nowhere. They are being raised because they are consistent in terms of how they have been doing. Because you could remember the last time, even during the BBI initiative, when the government used office of the administration officers, that is the chiefs and the assistant chiefs, to collect signatures to support the BBI, which was against the law, because the government officers are supposed to deliver services. You can see even the youth who were enrolled in Kazi kwa Vijana programs were being forced to sign to endorse the BBI, to sign, to give their signatures to endorse the BBI so that they be given jobs or that they are being paid. So we are not raising these issues just out of nowhere. We have seen it happening. So when we say it's happening now, it is happening. It is happening because we got reports from the ground. So we are urging the president to remember that the buck stops with him if anything happens in this country.
But I would also wonder why this would come up in 2022 while still in 2017 in the same environment. The DP was with the President Uhuru Kenyatta, and the administrative officers were already campaigning for him. Start with Matiang'i. And when the Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate raised that issue on July 2017, Deputy President William Ruto came out and strongly defended the Interior CS. So right now, the DP is up against the Interior CS for campaigning on his own choice.
Okay, Chris, you remember we have not raised so much voice as far as for the CSS. So it is true in 2017, CS Interior, who was acting then, was part of the campaign in 2017. But it does not mean, Chris, if it was wrong then, it is right now. Two wrongs cannot make a right.
But that is double standard.
Two wrongs cannot make a right. It's not double standards. If it was wrong then, like the way NASA then was raising. If it was wrong then, it is also wrong now. So is it now?
Supported
now,
that
now,
in
now,
2017, but now is on the.
That is why I'm saying two wrongs cannot make a right.
So which now should be.
So
right.
we should not allow the two wrongs. We should be able now to correct those ills which were there in 2017. Now, so it means, in justice to you, Chris, now that the shoe is on the other foot, should we now tolerate, because now it is Raila Odinga as new candidate benefiting? Yeah? So we need to be consistent in what we are saying. If we pinpoint that it is wrong to use government officers, from the chiefs and what have you, chiefs and all the way up the ladder to the PS, to the CS in terms of administration, if it is wrong, it was wrong in 2017, I reiterate and I repeat, it is also wrong now, and we should be able to correct it. The only difference between 2017 and now is the extent and the impact of the use of officers. Because at 2017, it was only at the CS level, at up level. But now this thing has been devolved now to the level of an assistant chief. That now in some areas, chiefs have been given money to buy IDs, so that people cannot vote. That is they want to suppress the turnout, especially in the strongholds of the Kenya Kwanza region.
We have also there's no proof that has been tabled in regards to that.
Let me tell you, Chris. Allow me to raise this. The issue you had, the issues of leaflets in Eldoret. Did you've read even in the media? I'm sure even you guys have reported, and you also read the leaflets. So the way the leaflets and those funds have been distributed is in a strategic and unorganized manner. You know, I have the benefit of coming from the area, or those areas around the Eldoret and Uasin Gishu and Nakuru. People there, Chris, Kenyans learned from 2007 debacle. Kenyans are not ready for violence. And in Eldoret, I can tell you, Chris, all the communities are living there. And they have been living peacefully since 2007, since we healed from 2007, and they are not ready. They are not ready to go back to where we were in 2007. Leaders from those regions, from Eldoret, led by the governor, and all the way to members of parliament, have committed to peace. We have been repeating this statement about peace, peace. Vote for your candidate. You have a right, whether you are a Luo living in Eldoret, you are a Kamba living in Uasin Gishu, you have a right, vote and go home to vote for your candidate. But it's only around a few weeks to election, someone is distributing leaflets. And we have pinpointed the county commissioners of Nakuru, and because they want to instigate violence that to deter people from voting. So these things, Chris, those are not just mere allegations.
I think they're mere allegations.
They are weighty issues. They are weighty issues. And then why? Because we have Kenya Kwanza coalition has been written to IBC to address those issues. They are not mere allegations because the government, why they have not come out and, as in, to state the contrary, to refuse or to say those are just malicious. Because you remember in 2017, Orengo used to give a lot of happenings in government. He could even mention the Kustafu that attacked one of the tallying centers of NASA then. And he could mention by name the police officers involved. And we could know it was the truth because the government was. So we are also raising it now, even pinpointing who and who are involved in this particular process. So overall, Chris, Kenyans, the president of this country, or this country, a unified country, a peaceful country, and he should be able to reign on the officers under him, not to interfere with the elections. Let the people vote, and we count the votes, and let the winner be announced by the Electoral Commission.
I think on that point, then we get to listen into what Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate Raila Odinga had to say yesterday in his, final appeal at the Nyanza region.
Don't run away. Don't come with shadow boxing and shadow shows. Who want to rig the elections using provincial administration, or there's intention to intimidate members of the IEBC and so on. Hakuna kitu kama hiyo. Ati Matiang'i, sijui na Mcheru are talking to the administration of officers and so on. We do not need the chiefs, assistant chiefs or administration to win these elections. We will win this election through the vote of the people of Kenya.
And that is Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate Raila Odinga, while in his response to the use of administrative officers to push for his election, saying that the people of Kenya will now make the final decision. Just before we come to you, Kiprotich, allow me to give Ogola a voice to respond to that particular clip as well, and also respond to what you said earlier. Then we come back to you. You also submit.
My mic messed me up when I was rating some significant issues regarding the use of the administrative officers and chiefs in campaigning for Azimio. I was stating or paraphrasing the statement of the PS of Interior, that is Karanja Kibicho. He did assure the Kenyans that they have been doing their meetings in a broad daylight or in public places and addressing the nation to give them updates on what they have been discussing. There is no any evidence of having or holding night meetings with the chiefs, or maybe the administrative officers coercing electorates to forcefully vote for a particular candidate. And there is no any single evidence of these people buying the IDs of some voters, as my friend alleged. Concerning if you've heard the Azimio presidential candidate raising his voice, they do not need chiefs or the DOs or any other public officer to campaign on their behalf, because they are all capable of campaigning for themselves and making the agenda clear to Kenyans. What these chiefs have been doing, they have only been there to ensure that come 2022 election, August 9th, Kenyans will enjoy the much peace that they all need. No Kenyan want to experience the violence we've experienced before, and it's only these security agencies that can guarantee our safety. And in the process, they cannot just provide security overnight. They have to meet, plan, and strategize. They have to earmark certain areas that can be prone to chaos. Like the other time we saw some US officials giving travel alert that their citizens should not visit Kisumu. That is because in their own opinion, they perceive that it might not be right, because by then the Kisumu people will be having a lot of celebrations. And such celebrations might not go well with some other people who do not like being in areas with a lot of jubilations. You see that? Coming to the allegations made by the Kenya Kwanza, it can be true that their claims are real, based on their own perception, their own intelligence, and their own findings, that these coming elections might have a lot of issues here and there. It has always been the norm, Brother Chris, that in every elections there are those people who try to bring a lot of interferences for their own selfish gains. But my fundamental concern in this case is why now, when he's sensing things are not working in his favor, why not then, when he was the deputy president and he thought that everything was now good for him, and this time round when things are not in his favor, then he needs to make a lot of noise? Or all Kenyans have a responsibility, starting from myself and going to you, going to my brother, and of course to every presidential candidate, and even the Azimio chairman, Uhuru Kenyatta. We all have a responsibility to ensure that we have peaceful elections, we have fair elections, and we have credible elections that will not cause mayhem before or after the polls. In that regards, it's only necessary that the president, who is the commander-in-chief and also a symbol of national unity, tries to do whatever it takes within his office to campaign as an individual in his capacity as Uhuru Kenyatta, but as the President of the Republic of Kenya, assures Kenyans of the peace that we much deserve. Yes.
Kiprotich, you wanted to respond to that because I'm told that we have less than 5 minutes, so I also want to give you a chance
as I finish, I want to
respond as well.
I think I have said, Chris, two wrongs cannot make a right. In 2017, Deputy President supported Matiang'i involvement in campaigns. 2018, 2022, Raila is supporting Matiang'i involvement in campaigns. And all we are saying, these are wrong. It is not right. As any right-thinking Kenyan, these are wrong. And we should call it the way it is. Let's not sugarcoat. Not when the shoe is on the other side, now it is now good. So let's call it the way it is wrong. And these people are not, these are not just mere allegations, as my friend is trying to say. Chris, there is a video captured in Kirinyaga, a chief in uniform on top of a vehicle campaigning for Azimio. So these are not just mere allegations you are raising out of blues. These are the things we have seen, it is happening, and we are saying an election can only be fair if there is no undue influence outside the framework of Electoral Commission. So all we are asking, especially Azimio chairman, who is the current president, a head of state, to play a role of a head of state and stop campaigning. I think my friends in Azimio, as I finish, Chris, because these are my closing remarks, would not want to come to terms with the reality. If indeed, because they have been saying all along that what they have been lacking in the past elections in the system, and if there's any magic their chairman can do, President Uhuru Kenyatta, and then I'm yet to see it, because because there is already a sense of deceit even on their part. You have seen the president going around the country right now and trying to show up support for their candidate, Azimio Raila Odinga. But when you look at the places the president has gone, and then it makes you question, because the president has gone to Kisumu and campaigned for Raila Odinga. What does that add to Raila Odinga? The president then came to Bungoma. What does that add to Raila Odinga? The president yesterday was in Mombasa campaigning for Raila Odinga. These are, what I'm trying to say is, these are the traditional bases for Raila Odinga. As a thinking person, I would expect the president to go to his backyard in Mount Kenya, and campaign for Raila Odinga, if he really means well that Raila Odinga too. But I'm telling you, because the president has an advantage of collecting evidence and intelligence of the whole country, the president has intelligence from National Intelligence Service indicating that this win is for Kenya Kwanza. Because it is even the international community have already resigned to the fact that these elections will be won by William Ruto. 2 days ago, as I finish, Chris, U.S. Embassy released a security alert advising its citizens against traveling to Kisumu. What could be the reason for that? Logically, what could be the reason for that? Because Kisumu is a traditional base for a candidate in this election. And they always riot in the event the alleged election has been stolen. So this election has been called, and we're only waiting for Tuesday to confirm. So as I finish, I appeal for peace, especially among the young people. Do not be used by politicians to cause mayhem. Just go exercise your democratic right and vote, and make the right choice in this election.
All right. I think also good to indicate that it's very unfair for you to, accuse the Kisumu people of always rioting. I think that is unfair. But we went it at that point. Also, just to come to your goal in less than 1 minute or 30 seconds.
I'll be very brief.
Of course, and you also take brief on the significance of today and tomorrow. All campaigns will be done in Nairobi. Just briefly, as we conclude in less than 1 minute.
The fact that the President Uhuru has not been going around crisscrossing every region campaigning Raila is a clear indication that he is a peace-loving president. He only goes to places where he launches serious projects and mentions his candidate, who will continue with the legacy of projects. When it comes to the issue of the 2 remaining days, the campaigns that will be in Nairobi, the major issue, like I mentioned before, is campaigning or motivating the electorates to show up for the election. So we expect that within the few days when the presidential candidates come to Nairobi to campaign, they will urge all the Kenyan citizens to turn out in large numbers and to vote. And as we cross to the 9th August, we all expect to be peaceful, and we all expect to be calm and, of course, rational and tolerant, even after we've casted our votes. By the end of the day, as I conclude, Mr. Chris, we all know the problems that we've been facing as Kenyans. And we have made that bold decision that we are going to elect not a presidential candidate who will promise us everything but do little. We are going to elect a candidate who makes promises and commit to fulfilling them for the satisfaction of every Kenyan citizen. And as a person who comes from Kisumu, I must say here and invalidate what my learned friend has said, that we are known for violence. We are only known that we cannot keep quiet and watch wrong things taking place. We will definitely shout.
Right.
Yes.
And I think that is a good point to wind up. Stephen Ogola, a political analyst and researcher, thank you so much for making time this morning, and also keep teaching and teach. He's a political analyst as well as a youth advocate. Thank you so much for making time this morning for this discussion. Of course, definitely on Friday next week, we'll have a very different discussion. Of course, after the election will be conducted on Tuesday. And that is where we wind up this particular discussion in regards to the final lap as we head to the Tuesday polls, the discussion that we expect in the next few days. My name is Chris Sambo, so stay tuned. We'll be coming back shortly after this short break with the guest artist of the day. But for now, we wind it up for the political discussion.
We welcome your feedback on our programming. For questions or comments, kindly get in touch with us via email info@kirktv.org, SMS 0111 220044, or call us on 0794 588 054. Are you ready for Israel? PCEA head office is pleased to inform all presbyteries, parishes, churches, congregations and friends of our PCEA annual trip to Israel. The 10-day trip to the Holy Land will happen this September from the 18th to 27th, 2022. The trip to Israel through Egypt will include visit sites like the pyramids, Mara, the Hayin Church, the Burning Bush, Mount Sinai, and then to Israel through the Suez Canal. That will include visits to the Dead Sea, Kibbutz, the Menja, the Temptation Mount, Gethsemane, Old Jerusalem, Caesarea Park, St. Peter's in Galligantu, Emmaus, Capernaum, Jordan River, Galilee, among others. We would love to have you join us on this annual trip to Israel. For bookings, contact Rose on 0721 511 524 or 721 511 524.
Kimani Wamatangi is vying for the governor of Kiambu. His manifesto is based on 5 pillars. His first flagship project is Hudumia Wanakiambu, a 100% digitized Hudumia Wanakiambu platform, publish all tenders and tender awards. Additional key initiatives: bottom-up prioritization, Kiambu Revenue Service KRS, County Asset and Liability Forensic Audit, staff capacity building, structured public participation. Pillar 2, People. Second flagship project 2, Leave No Child Behind. Provide and upgrade ECDE facilities and hire teachers to achieve 100% enrollments. Expanded school bursaries program to encompass enhanced allocation for bursaries, scholarships, and awards. Additional key initiatives: healthcare facility and equipment maintenance and upgrades, seamless UHC rollouts, multi-year sports sponsorship programs, sports and talent development, youth sports and talent academies, alternative sports development, develop socioculture assets. Third flagship project 3, Maji Nyumbani. Piped water will be accessed in every home obtained from various sources. Water security will be 100% through an elaborate piped water rollout and enhanced water harvesting, protection of wetlands and water towers. Additional key initiatives: support sustainability via climate research, green financing and rebates, improving housing and planning, affordable housing development, optimize use of 635-acre seeded land, enhance hotel and tourism sector. Fourth flagship project 4, Kazi kwa Wote program. Prioritize employing our youth and women, targeting 100,000 new jobs in the first year. Enable Kiambu residents to earn a living wage and live with dignity. Additional key initiatives: guaranteed minimum returns for farmers, farm input subsidies, deploy smart agricultural techniques special economic zones, training of youth in ICT and agriculture, storage and warehousing facilities, establishment of modern markets. Kiambu People's Bank, to provide accessible, affordable, county-backed loans and financing to the people of Kiambu without the heavy demands of high interest rates and collateral or security. Hustler Revolving Fund. As a Hustler County, 1 billion shillings will be provided annually for subsidized financing and capacity building of Kiambu's micro and small businesses. Additional key initiative: Kiambu County Transport Infrastructure Master Plan, Kiambu Transport Management Board to regulate and grow the sector, transport termini and border sheds, Wamatangi Foundation's free computer literacy project, and Kiambu County Employees Human Resource Capacity through education. Fifth flagship project 5, Kiambu stands tall with Thika Industrial Smart City Initiative. Lobby for the elevation of Thika Town to city status. Thika Industrial Smart City will use ICT to attract business investments, improve operational efficiency, public communication and government services. Additional key initiatives: an airport that will be constructed within 635-acre seeded land, security enhancement through increased police deployment and police post construction, expansion of Nyumba Kumi, improved street lighting and CCTV, County Askari rebrand to service delivery. We look forward to work together to make Kiambu great again, a change we can see. Asante. Let us pull together to restore Kiambu's glory. Kimani Wamatangi, the change driver.
Agosti 9, siku ya siku. Wakenya wazalendo wa matabaka yote wanapania kufanya uamuzi debeni. Uamuzi ambao utaathiri mustakabali wa taifa hili kwa miaka 5 ijayo. Mandani wako runinga ya Kirk, tupo tayari kutembea nawe kila hatua ya uchaguzi mkuu wa Agosti 9. Tutakuletea ripoti za moja kwa moja kutoka kwenye vituo vya kupigia kura, matangazo na uchambuzi wa kipekee studioni hadi nususi za matokeo kila yatakapotukia. Kila siku saa 24 tutakufahamisha kiuhakika na kiufasaha hadi pale mshindi atakapotangazwa. Kirk TV, uchaguzi 2022.
My name is Moaz Jamal. I'm the Managing Director of Associated Motors Limited. Associated Motors introduced the Isuzu brand of commercial vehicles into Kenya a little over 55 years ago. We've been with Family Bank a little over a year now. We've had a very good experience. There's always interaction between ourselves and the team at Family Bank. They've worked with us very much as part of the AM family. As a partner, they've always wanted to understand our business. In many ways, the name of the bank reflects what they do.
Our customers are family, and we want you to know that you can always bank on family.
What a wonderful year our dear God has granted to us. 2022 Boys and Girls Brigade Week. Our theme this year comes from the book of Hebrews chapter 13 verse 6. And the Bible says, "The Lord is my helper, I'll not be afraid. What can a mere mortal do to me?" Therefore, from the same theme, we get a consolidated theme of we invite all of you to join us in our programs that are lined up for you in the whole week. We have wonderful morning devotions brought to you from different parts of the Republic of Kenya by young children preaching the Word of God.
My dear parents, my dear brothers and sisters, I want to encourage you with one thing. Tell God, I have to go with you.
We also have wonderful programs brought to you by the hosts of different programs in the Kirk TV majoring on children affairs. Therefore, we invite all of you, children and adults, to join us and have a fantastic week. The climax of the whole week will be on Sunday, when we have wonderful services brought to you through the TV and our YouTube channel and Facebook from different parishes within the Presbyterian Church of East Africa. Note the one that will be coming to you from the neighboring country, St. John's, Kinondoni in Tanzania. We believe that you are going to have a fantastic week of the week as we look forward for next week when we have the general elections, considering trusting in God.
Waters touching your latest breath on the rising tide, you can never fail when your anchor holds deep in.
What a wonderful year our dear God has granted to us. 2022 Boys and Girls Brigade Week. Our theme this year comes from the book of Hebrews chapter 13 verse 6. And the Bible says, "The Lord is my helper, I'll not be afraid. What can a mere mortal do to me?" Therefore, from the same theme, we get a consolidated theme of we invite all of you to join us in our programs that are lined up for you in the whole week. We have wonderful morning devotions brought to you from different parts of the Republic of Kenya by young children preaching the Word of God.
My dear parents, my dear brothers and sisters, I want to encourage you with one thing. Tell God, I have to go with you.
We also have wonderful programs brought to you by the hosts of different programs in the Kirk TV majoring on children affairs. Therefore, we invite all of you, children and adults, to join us and have a fantastic week. The climax of the whole week will be on Sunday, when we have wonderful services brought to you through the TV and our YouTube channel and Facebook from different parishes within the Presbyterian Church of East Africa. Note the one that will be coming to you from the neighboring country, St. John's, Kinondoni in Tanzania. We believe that you are going to have a fantastic week of the week as we look forward for next week when we have the general elections, considering trusting in God.
Waters touching your latest breath on the rising tide, you can never fail when your anchor holds deep in the...
It's Pastor Nash again, yeah. Oh, yeah. Straight to the wall. Kafadhie nyambie noti haria wangorire kanyumba-ine kamabati utonga wi moko na gutire munini mukeno kirimo kia miaka 40 ni kirimo tene na tene urekia mbeca cigana ngure tondu waiga kuma mothe thogore kirora thogori thogorera thogore thoko yakuwe naku eriothe ona ndigũteithagia meriothe ndire kĩndũ ndĩnakĩo ũriganĩirwo ciakwa ciokaga ikiumaga ciaku no kũigithia nĩ mũndũ ũroya message ndũracokia ndaririkana ũrĩa wakomaga ũtukũ nyitĩtie nginya ngakũria korona ta ngũro ũtukũ na nduma nĩnjũĩ nĩngwĩte na nĩhĩtĩtie gũtirĩ ũtahĩtagia no kũhanĩra nĩkuo kuonanagia ũriku na ũritũ orata no ningĩ nĩnjũĩ nĩwĩhĩtĩte karotho wanambiri ũrekanĩkie yarerethũwe nĩwĩiganĩtie ndũrabatara kĩoigaga no tũtigane tũhanaga ciamaga mongoma nĩ mũru kwĩ ngui I deserve better tena nĩ mũru kwĩ ngui I deserve better kĩoigaga no tũtigane tũhanaga ciamaga mongoma nĩ mũru kwĩ ngui I deserve better tena nĩ mũru kwĩ ngui I deserve better ndeciragia tũraka ũthamaki ũmwe mĩbango tũbange gũcia mwena warĩo na niĩ womotho kume wakaga waku wiki no kĩhinga mĩrango usoke ujeri onge kaingora ne onge kaingera usoke ujeri onge kaingora ne konge gakoima ayura giambura wale oru nariega arogaroro limo bakwatueke oge chongeria miaka ya leiro neitano tondo nioe mesi ya mote makwa gwaku matiare na.
Karibu sana studio bana.
Asante sana.
There's something, kuna kitu nimeambiwa nikuulize. Headphones.
Yeah.
Hizi headphones hata kwa video bado ziko.
Napenda muziki sana. I can say my first love. So everywhere I go nataka headphones zenye zinagonga. So yeah.
Lazima ubiwe kila mahali.
Yeah.
Sasa muziki yako
nazipenda sana. And then yeah, so when I'm traveling I'm always on my music. Yeah.
Tell us about your song yenye tumetoka kucheza Diowaga. Inamaanisha nini, and people maybe kuna mtu anaangalia na sema inamaanisha nini. You know, how was the creating of that song?
Yeah, mostly I write ballads. Ballads ni songs from the heart, and they involve much of guitars and kusikiza the words sana. So and yeah, I was going through some, I can say through this year, from Jan, I've been going through quite some time, quite some rough season, and so where you are deserted by people leave you, some of the people that you never thought can leave you, friends. Actually, some people think that I wrote it for a certain woman, but no, it's actually, it's a combination of friends, about 6 of them. And so I got creative with the words, with the beats as a producer, and yeah, so the song came up. It's about separation and how people can let you down when you least expect it. So it says, Dioigaga no tutigane. I never thought we could part ways, but the nane moru kwegui. That's a proverb my grandmother used to tell me a long time ago, that poverty or trouble is worse than dogs. You know, dogs, you can tell them, no, stop, don't bite, and they wasimame. But then poverty and trouble, you can't tell it to stop. When it comes, it comes. Even the Bible says that there is always the day of evil. So we should always prepare for the day of evil. So I think I've been going through my day of evil. Yeah, I've parted ways with friends that I never thought I could part with. And actually the person that made me write the song was a friend of mine for 17 good years. But then something came up, and yeah.
And talking about that, Tombi, where did your music start, and when did you start your music, and how has it been, you know, being a gospel musician? Of course, ndio na ngoma zako za kitambo na pia umevote. Tuambie ulianzia wapi, where did your music start and hadi kufika sasa?
Nilianza kuandika muziki nikiwa class 7. Class 7, back then I was in shule iko inaitwa Getuya, kule Kirinyaga. After Baricho ukipanda kidogo, kuna shule hapo inaitwa Getuya. So I wrote, I was very zealous. So I wrote about 12 songs. Unajua hiyo time ilikuwa ni time ya cassette. And then I went to my dad, nikamwambia ningependa kufanya muziki. Kaniambia wewe soma kwanza, acha mchezo. So I shelved it because, you know, music needs finances. And so I shelved it when my dad actually told me, you can't do this, you first do your education. Then sasa kuingia high school ndio nikapata rap music and all that, and so I started rapping. So now fast forward to 2004, that's when I cleared. I'm quite an old guy. so 2004, that's when I cleared high school. Nikaingia kwa mtaa. 2005 I met some people where I was working. Unajua ukitoka form 4 unaintroducewa kwa job hivi ukigojea kwenda campus. So hapo my boss akasikia nikirap. Kwa sababu I was always writing and rapping. So akasikia nikirap akaniambia, wewe unaimba kama vijana wengine wako kwa chachi yetu wanafanya hii mchezo. Kuita muziki alisema mchezo. Alafu akaniambia that ukienda huko nilisikia bishop wetu atawasponsor watoe song. Anataka kualipia studio. So akaniambia uende uungane na wao uone kama hata utaingia kwa hiyo mpango. And with that I want to big up one of my mentors, Bishop William Githenji of Victor's Chapel, Karatina. That's where I met now the group of 4 na tukaanza kikundi kinaitwa Mado Dynasty. Mado Family, Mado Dynasty. So when we recorded our first song in 2006.
What was that song?
Ilikuwa inaitwa Wakati. Ilikuwa inaitwa Wakati wa kuokoka. Wakati wa kuokoka ni sasa, wakati wa kugeuka ni sasa, wakati wa kuacha dhambi ni sasa, ni sasa, ni sasa. So it was such a song. So but you know when you are starting, the challenges of this industry is that whenever you are starting, you start from a low point as you go up, ukipanda. So the production was poor. Everything was poor. I don't even think we did the video, but everything. But now then, I went to campus. I was doing my electrical engineering, so I went to campus. Sasa hapo ndio sasa nika kwa real production. Real production, yani quality production, and up to now.
And that is why you came up with When You Were Guy.
Yeah, When You Were Guy. That song, as I've said, I write ballads from my heart. When You Were Guy, my first video for that song, actually the video that may be played right now is the redo. The first one I had ready. Not really, but you know, I love God so much, so much, and but now because of how I was wearing in high school, maybe even right now, mtu anaweza uliza huyo ni pasi kweli, wakisikia ukiniita Pastor Nesh, because most people have the notion that a pastor lazima akuwe na suti kama wewe, katai hivi. Yeah. So and people were saying, "Hi, Nesh ni pasi kweli, Nesh ni mtumishi kweli," because maybe of the hair. And so the song came up because I was telling them, yeye ndiye Mungu na bado ndiye baba yangu. So when we guy, wewe ndiye Mungu na wewe daddy, and wewe ndiye baba yangu. So you are the one that knows me, you know everything about me, there's nothing to hide, and you know my love for you. When I got born again, the scripture that God gave me is the scripture where he was asking Peter, but Jonah, do you love me? And Peter would always say, you know I do. And so he was saying, if you love me, feed my sheep. And so that's generally my life in ministry. And when we're guy na wewe ndiye Mungu, wewe ndiye baba yangu.
I think we can listen into that song, wewe niwe guy.
Wewe niwe guy. Yes.
Yes. Wewe niwe guy.
Nabii magana mana mwena waku kũrarokia mũndũ ũmwe ũgwĩtwo Elija ũrĩa wĩrĩga kũrũgamia mbura akoiga ndĩkura arathikiithia Isiraeli maroiga wĩ Ngai Elija ararĩ o mũndũ ũtanyie ingĩ mathaa ũthiũ waku na maya mamenya wekai wenewe kai na wenowe dadi wenewe kai na wenowe dadi wenewe
when you go to high school, that is where you go through production. I also moved to the university, different things. And then we were guy, we released that song. How did that song change your music career?
Really exposed me to now what music is all about, and production, what production entails, what you need. And actually, then it made me fall in love with production, and I started learning production myself. And so I started also producing my own music, and even as a songwriter. There are some things that people don't know, that when you enter a studio, you are an executive producer. Then you meet the director of production, who now maybe ukienda place kama juu unapata director of production sio mwenye anacheza, unajua in Africa or in Kenya, let me say, tuna multitask, so mwenye anacheza bado keyboard, the producer, the nini, the DOP, but we multitask. So I became an all-round. What I can say is that I'm blessed so much with gifts, in that I can play instruments, I can play the drums, I can play the guitar, I can play the piano. I always say, nafanyanga watu wacheke na wambia, the only instrument I can't play ni yenye sijawahi shika. Yenye sijawahi patana nayo. Hiyo maybe ndio siwezi cheza. Then I'm a graphic designer, I'm into production. Anything that is creative, I am into it. So I started learning and started producing music. So I became a producer. And so that's where I was introduced by When We're Guy, because I think it's one of the songs that I played a very big role in producing. Yeah.
And now let's talk about you being a musician and also becoming a pastor, and tell us about that.
Becoming a pastor was quite I say a journey, because even if I got born again in 2002, 2003 while in Form 3, I never thought I would become a pastor. I actually hated it, because I'm raised by a pastor. Big up to my dad, Bishop Chomba, Kiwakure Karatina. So I was raised by a pastor, but I hated it, because for quite a time I thought he was an absentee father. I thought we never connected. And I kind of hated the God he represented. To some extent, I even thought of being an atheist. But then sometime in 2003, I got born again. God gave me an option. It's either you get born again or you die. And I played with him a bit, but then I got born again. Long story short. Then so I wanted to be born again. I wanted to do my engineering, and all I wanted was to support the church. And I had pledged to God that I'll be a giver, I'll be giving to ministries, I'll be doing all these things. Just let me do my engineering, get a job, be an engineer, and I'll support ministry. But then in my third year in the university, I got another visitation. That is when I decided now I want to serve God. Actually, I have never practiced engineering.
Since graduation?
Yeah, since graduation. So I just came out of uni, and as I said, my dad is a bishop. I went to him. He had just opened a church in Meru. I told him, send me to Meru. But then he told me, no, Meru will be very easy for you. If you want to venture into ministry, and so that you may know the sweetness of ministry, I want to send you to the hardest of places. And he sent me to Dandora. I pastored there for about 9 months. I had three I had 3 members, and I was one of the members. After 9 months of frustration, I closed it down. I closed it down and said, I don't want to ever become a pastor again. And I went and sat under another great man of God called Pastor William Omole in Syokimau. That's where I've lived quite my good life, in Nairobi, in Syokimau. So Pastor William Omole, and he taught me now. You know, I had come to minister with the hype of uni. Nilikuja na hype ya uni, vile tumekuwa tukienda missions, tuna preach, watu wanaokoka. So nilikuwa naona ni kama sasa nikijia kwa ministry, I'll do the same. Why? Nilikuwa na members 3 na mimi ni mmoja. And then one of the members ni wale wa 50-50, anaweza come, anaweza kosa. Then huyu mwingine alikuwa ni reverend, so huyo lazima angekam. So wawili for 9 good months, but I thank God. So I came, and from 2006 no, 2016, that is when now I started. I felt now I'm mature enough. I would want to go on my own, and so now I am a lead pastor of a church called the Wow Sanctuary. It is in Kenyatta Road, Juja. I'm the lead pastor there. Hapo tu Kenyatta Road kwa footbridge hapo hivyo.
Hiyo sasa ina watatu.
Hapana. Hapo unajua, I believe there are seasons, and sometimes we jump. We would want to jump seasons. Would want to be the next millionaire tomorrow, but you need to know that there is the process, and growth sio kama swelling. Growth sio kama swelling. Swelling you can swell, unaweza lala leo kesho uamke umefula. Lakini growth ni, and then the goodness with growth is that hainanga reverse. If you swell, kesho unaweza amka upate the swelling is not there anymore. But growth ikienda imeenda, you don't go back. And the goodness with growth is that after you have outgrown a certain level, even if someone was to reduce you or to take away what you have gained, going back is always easier than starting from the scratch. You'll never start from the scratch.
So you would say right now you minister to a good number of people?
Yeah, right now actually we are expanding our church because we had tulianza 2018, so we are 4 years old. And the capacity we had back then was about 50. Now we have seen hatutoshei, tuna expand, and we are expanding it to 100 because it's growth. That's something that life has taught me.
Definitely.
Grow slowly. Ningependa kujenga ya watu dhao, lakini nataka ni grow slowly mpaka nifike hiyo level. But so right now we are expanding to 100, and I thank God.
I think that growth as my director says, deserves a standing ovation.
Standing ovation, eh?
We can do standing ovation.
Yes.
And then you give your final remarks as we conclude this show this morning. So we do standing ovation, then we conclude this particular show. And before that, you can give out your social media handles and also give your final remarks, and then we conclude with standing ovation.
Sawa sawa. Social media zangu ni Pastor Nesh. Everywhere Pastor Nesh. If you just type Pastor Nesh, I don't think I've searched sijaiona Pastor Nesh mwingine. Nesh is actually never ending source of help. It's the acronym for never ending source of help. So it's Pastor Nesh. And so before I go, kabla ninyongwe huko nje, I want to big up some people. Chris, tunamuitanga Ochuodho. Big up to you, and all the guys behind me, and also the one that made sure that I am here today, Bronze KE. Thank you so much. Thank you also for inviting me, and God bless you and take you places. And every other person, every other friend of mine, kuna wenye walikuwa wamesema niwasalimie on air, mbarikiwe sana. Nimewasalimia wote kwa jumla.
Definitely lazima muwasalimia. Hizo salamu wapokee.
Zote.
That's a good point to also wind up.
Yeah.
And that is what we have had for you this morning. And Pastor Nesh yuko studio and talking about that. This is where we come to the end of Kirk in the morning. But be sure to look out for Kirk TV kwa sababu tutakuwa tunakujia na uchambuzi wa uchaguzi mwaka 2022. We'll be talking about matters to do with the IBC preparedness and election. That will be coming to you in our subsequent timings as we continue with the normal programming. But for now, Kirk in the morning is done and dusted. Not before we do a standing ovation. My name is Chris. Standing